Hey everyone, it's Jason here, and it's another episode of Photo of the Week, second week doing Photo of the Week. Now, before I go on, I have to apologize a little bit for my voice. It's going to sound a little bit different in this episode simply because I got a little sick. I got a little cold, so it sounds a little bit different, but hopefully it's still intelligible. So, in this Photo of the Week, I'm going to actually show a photo that I took a long time ago, but it's a re-edit. I decided to allow re-edits, a wider scope of photos in this Photo of the Week. Not just a photo I've taken in the last week because, well, I really don't like routine and regiment, so I don't like sticking to one particular format. It might change from week to week because I prefer to do things in a very random fashion. And, well, that's one of the reasons why I quit my full-time job all those years ago, because I can't stand to do the same thing every day. Anyway, so this photo is a photo of a limpkin. You can see that it's against trees. There are lots of leaves in the background. It's an environmental shot. And it's a re-edit, as I mentioned. So I'll show you the old one. This is the old photo. And this is the new edit that I made a few days ago. Now, as you can see, one of the main differences, aside from, well, the colors, is that it's cropped less. And I think I've been guilty of this before, cropping a little bit too much. And I think sometimes as bird photographers, it's easy for us to want to crop a lot. And also, photos are displayed at relatively small sizes on the internet, so you might have the urge to crop a little bit more. So I cropped less. I decided that the crop was too severe. So let's go over the three things about this photo, the two post-processing choices, and the thing that makes this photo stand out for me. Post-processing choice number one is obviously going to be the cropping. Now, the previous photo that I cropped, which I thought was cropped a little bit too much, I think the new crop is a little bit better than this previous one because mainly, well, you see there are very nice arrangements of leaves. You see these sort of clusters of leaves in this new version in the top left sort of area, the bottom left, and on the right near the tree. The arrangements of leaves are quite nice, and they kind of really show the sort of environment, this sort of tropical tree. And I cut them off. I cut off pieces of these clumps, which kind of destroyed their integrity in the crop. And aside from the crop being a little too close, I think, this larger crop that preserves these clumps of leaves shows the environment a lot better. So I thought that's a thing that's important to pay attention to. When you're cropping, it's not just where the bird is in the photo, but where all the environmental elements are. Are you preserving the most interesting parts of the environment? And I think sometimes if you aren't, by cropping too much, it's good to crop a little less. Anyways, I've noticed that sometimes in the past I've been cropping too much. So I've decided to crop a little bit less with this photo, and I think it improved the photo a lot. Second post-processing choice is the colors. I think the colors in the original weren't quite faithful to the original. This tree in real life is actually pretty green, so I decided to try and preserve that greenness a little bit more, including in the background. And I think the overall preservation of greenness, not just in the foreground because of the highlights that were boosted a lot, but because of the green in the background, it looks a little bit more like an environment, a little bit less like it looks more cohesive basically with the bird, I think. The bird, it looks more like it's in the environment rather than separated from it. And I know we're often, as bird photographers, we often want subject-background separation, but sometimes it's not good to push that to the extreme like I did with the original edit, toning down some of the green in the background. So I decided to preserve the more natural look of the green in the foreground and the background. And that included darkening the leaves in the foreground a little bit more to preserve a little bit more of their natural greenness. Finally, the thing I think that makes this photo stand out, for me at least, is because the background is so nicely arranged. Yes, it has a lot of stuff going on in it, but it doesn't interfere too much with the form of the bird, and it shows a little bit of everything. The formation of the leaves, it shows the nice tree, a piece of the tree that this bird was in, and it's kind of all nicely arranged around the bird, so it looks very nice. Even though this was a wild situation, it looks pretty cool, and I really enjoyed seeing this limpkin in this tree. It was actually quite a shock for me because I usually don't get such good glimpses of birds that are not so easy to see, and the limpkin, at least in this area, was not an easy bird to see. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Photo of the Week, and I hope you could put up with my slightly unusual voice, and I'll see you again next time.